Derek Carr has lost his job. My name is Joe Dolan, and this is the Fantasy Points Daily Lineup for Thursday, December 29th, 2022.
It's time for the FantasyPoints.com Daily Lineup. Staying on top of the latest news and updates around the NFL. Rise and shine, folks. We're taking the field. Here's your host, FantasyPoints.com's Joe Dolan.
Starting at quarterback for the Raiders in Week 17 is Jarrett Stidham. And Coach Josh McDaniels has benched Derek Carr, who is in his 9th season as the Raiders franchise quarterback. Now, barring something drastic, it will be Carr's final season in Las Vegas. No, Carr has not been good and has not been playing to his standards. But this offense has been dysfunctional from day one. Early in the season, when Darren Waller and Hunter Renfrow were injured, or weren't injured rather, they couldn't get the ball to those guys. Now, in the last 2 weeks, since those two guys have come back, they can't get the ball to Davante Adams, which is, to me, it's on somebody more than just Derek Carr. Not to say Derek Carr is blameless in this whole situation, but there is something going on with this offense in general. And now, additionally, per the Athletic's Vic Tafur, quote, the Raiders and Derek Carr came to a decision that he should go home and not be a distraction in the last 2 weeks of the season. So Derek Carr is essentially going away. The Raiders still are somewhat alive for a playoff spot, but not really. We know that. Now, this offseason, Carr should have plenty of suitors on the market if and when the Raiders decide to trade him, and I think that's almost a guarantee at this point. And I don't know about fantasy down the stretch. The hope for me is Jarrett Stidham comes in and throws the ball to Davante Adams, and he throws the ball to him a lot. I don't care if it's short targets. I don't care if it looks like Michael Pittman with Matt Ryan throwing him the football. I just hope Davante Adams gets a bunch of targets. But this is a downgrade for the entire offense because we know Derek Carr can play at a high level, and there's no proof that Jarrett Stidham can do that. Now, as for McDaniels in Las Vegas, Jarrett Stidham is not the long-term answer. But this is a city known for hosting the final acts of big-time celebrities. The one I think they might host next year, a young gunner by the name of T. Brady. Doubtful to play this week in our first RB spot is the Titans' Derrick Henry. Henry has a hip injury, as I discussed on yesterday's program, and the injury is probably not serious, but the Titans' game against the Cowboys on Thursday night is utterly meaningless. They could win by 100, they could lose by 100, and it would still be the same scenario. It's an all-out game and an all-out race in Week 18 with the Jaguars for the AFC South. By the way, this game for the Jaguars is technically not meaningless. The Jaguars could hit on 16 like 3 different times and still have a shot to get to the playoffs without beating the Titans in Week 18, but a lot has got to happen for that. So for all intents and purposes, the Jaguars will be playing for everything in Week 18 as well. Now, for those counting on Derrick Henry in fantasy championships, you may want to snag rookie Hassan Haskins if desperate. Haskins has just 50 rushing yards this year, but he is the number 2 running back with Dontrell Hilliard headed to IR. Now, the Cowboys are giving up 4.4 yards per carry to running backs, though they did kind of slow down Miles Sanders last week. But here's the thing. The Titans are playing with backups basically everywhere. The Cowboys still have something to play for. Technically, they have an outside shot at winning the NFC East. So let's just put it this way. Haskins is running behind some backups. Yeah, not the most appealing start, but I understand you might be desperate. Also questionable on Thursday night is our RB2. Dallas's Tony Pollard is listed as questionable for Thursday's game against Tennessee. Jane Slater of NFL Network reports because Pollard is dealing with a thigh injury. Now, Pollard has been expected to play, but the question becomes how much he's needed to play. As I just mentioned, the Cowboys will be facing off against a squad of Tennessee backups, and the biggest disaster for the Cowboys, who are almost certain to be the NFC's number 5 seed, would be key injuries. Pollard is a risky RB2 because of that, with some serious upside against a decimated team, but also downside if he tweaks anything. And if the Cowboys are able to build a big lead without Pollard, it might be kind of a disappointing fantasy spot. It's possible Tyler Lockett is back in a must-win spot in Week 17. Despite Lockett being listed as a non-participant in Wednesday's walkthrough, Seahawks coach Pete Carroll told reporters that he actually participated in full. catching passes with his surgically repaired broken finger without pain. Of course, the DNP is a big contrast to old positive Pete's disposition, but I'll choose to remain optimistic here. Our Dr. Edwin Porras thought Lockett's injury was similar to one that cost Chris Godwin just one game 2 years ago. Now, the Seahawks have been mired in an awful slump, losing 5 of their last 6 games, but despite that, both Lockett and DK Metcalf have ranked as top 12 wide receivers over that span. So Lockett obviously is questionable, but could well be needed, with Marquise Goodwin injuring his wrist after coming off a goose egg because he injured his wrist last week in Week 16 against the Chiefs. Now, all of the Seahawks receivers, though, have a ridiculously tough matchup with the Jets' awesome secondary this week. But it is a must-win game for Seattle to avoid falling out of the playoff hunt. I think Lockett will go. Christian Watson didn't practice with a hip injury on Wednesday. This is updating an item from yesterday's program. Yes, the Packers rookie wide receiver has been electric this season, but he has had trouble staying on the field with multiple ailments. Meanwhile, fellow rookie Romeo Doubs returned to the lineup in Week 15 after an ankle ailment of his own, and he could be thrust into a big role in the final 2 weeks of the season if Watson misses time from the hip injury he suffered against the Dolphins. Coach Matt LaFleur called Watson day-to-day on Monday, so there is still a chance that he gets practice in on Thursday or Friday. Now, Doubs has 8 catches on 11 targets over the last 2 weeks, and he flashed early in the season. It was really starting to come on before he went down with the high ankle injury in Week 9. The Packers have a pair of premier fantasy matchups to end the year in home games against the Vikings and Lions. So Doubs and, of course, Allen Lazard could end the year with a surge if Watson is out. In our flex spot, Carson Wentz is officially back as the Commanders' starting quarterback. In a move that Ron Rivera has been dying to make for weeks, he has benched hospital ball Heineke for Wentz. The writing was on the wall in Week 16 when Rivera sat Heineke for Wentz in the second half, and Wentz performed very well, going 12 of 16 for 123 yards and a touchdown against the 49ers. Outside of Rivera, nobody is happier about this news than Curtis Samuel, who saw more targets than Terry McLaurin in every game that Wentz started this season. And Wentz's touchdown pass in Week 16, naturally, it was a 20-yarder to Samuel. For fantasy against the Cleveland Browns, it's possible Terry McLaurin catches a shadow from Denzel Ward. Now, McLaurin has crushed shadows all year, but Wentz really likes to target the middle of the field. And though I'm not starting him in general redraft leagues, Curtis Samuel has some DFS appeal. There's no doubt about it this week. Thank you for joining me for this penultimate edition of the Fantasy Points Daily Lineup. We have just one more to go after a full season of, hey, look, I got up early to do these this year. This is not me, but I think it was a productive thing for me to do, and it's really helped matters. Now, fantasypoints.com is not going away, however. If you go to fantasypoints.com, sign up for our super early bird special, get 30% off. It is the lowest rate we will have all season long. You don't need a promo code. Just go sign up and you get the entire 2023 season for free. No matter when you subscribe to fantasypoints.com, no matter when, your subscription will expire April 1st following the season you're subscribing for. So if you subscribe in January of 2023, your subscription runs till April 2024. If you subscribe in September 2023, your subscription runs till April 2024. Oh, and by the way, you get the cheapest rate now. So I don't know why you wouldn't want to get in at the cheapest rate. I don't know why we do this. It's stupid. It should be more because you get more content. But just go to fantasypoints.com, subscribe to the Super Early Bird Special. I will catch you tomorrow for the final edition of the show. Thanks everybody for a great season.